You're watching ABC7 News at 7.
They're finding votes out of nowhere. And Rick Scott, who won by, it was close, but he won by a comfortable margin. Every couple of hours, it goes down a little bit.
And you thought the president wouldn't weigh in on this? Days after the midterm elections, 3 razor-thin Florida races are still up in the air. Good evening, everyone. I'm Alan Conan. Welcome to ABC 7 at 7. As if we needed a reminder, Florida really knows how to throw an election. Not 1 or 2, but 3 statewide races, governor, U.S. Senate, and agriculture, remain up in the air 3 days after voters went to the polls. All 3 races qualify for recounts, and it won't be cheap. It could cost Manatee County taxpayers alone $25,000 to $30,000. Today, Governor Scott and Senate candidate Scott were demanding an investigation into the count, the Republican questioning whether election officers are taking too long to count the votes to sway the races in favor of the Democrats.
Every Floridian should be concerned there may be rampant fraud happening in Palm Beach and Broward counties.
President Trump also weighing in today saying, quote, they are finding votes out there nowhere, no here. The Palm Beach supervisor of elections responded this way.
Well, I think it's unfortunate that some of our highest elected leaders in the country are trying to impede our democracy because they don't like the demographics of our voters.
And as the lawsuits pile up, the finger pointing is also heating up. ABC7's Erica Jackson breaks down the process and tells us when officials need to perform a recount.
Election day is over, but Florida voters still have many unanswered questions. As of Friday morning, the races for Florida governor, agriculture commissioner, and U.S. Senate were all within half a percentage point, mandating a statewide recount.
We had predicted that there would be a recount. We weren't predicting 3, we were predicting 2.
We've had a big job and we have a big job ahead, and the volume we're dealing with, people have a lot of questions right now.
Elections offices across Florida are sending in results from provisional and any additional ballots. If the race is still within 0.5%, then the state will require a machine recount.
The machine is set up to where it reads both sides at the same time and literally reads them in probably quarter of a second.
And it doesn't end there. Races with a gap of less than 0.25% after the machine recount will need to be recounted by hand. And that may be the case for the race for U.S. Senate between Rick Scott and Bill Nelson, with a difference of less than 0.2% as of Friday morning.
We need every day and hour that we can at this point, because we had more than 200,000 ballots cast in Sarasota County, so it's quite the undertaking to do this.
Florida dealt with a month-long recount in the 2000 presidential election, but this time the process will likely wrap up in a few days. The extra effort is to ensure your vote is properly counted and protected.
And they placed a ballot. It was going to be counted. It was going to be counted accurately.
Serving as a reminder to all voters that every ballot matters. Reporting in Sarasota and Manatee counties, Erica Jackson, ABC7, your Suncoast News.
The deadline is looming. Election officials have until tomorrow at noon to certify the elections. The Sarasota County Sheriff's Office is investigating a series of burglaries last night on Camphor Avenue off of Proctor, less than 4 blocks away from Riverview High School. Surveillance video taken by a resident on the street shows 3 to 5 men stopping and going to a car. One woman tells us a number of homes and cars were broken into.
They stole my fiance's tools out of the back of his truck. They stole the rental car that I just got the day before.
On the burglaries is asked to contact the Sarasota County Sheriff's Office. An update now on when emergency renourishment project will begin on Lido Key. Crews will continue to move in equipment and pipes today, and the actual sand dredging and pumping will likely begin tomorrow. The project should take about 3 months to complete. They'll pump sand from New Pass. A much bigger project is scheduled for next fall, taking sand from Big Pass, which is between Lido and Siesta Keys. Now let's head over to ABC7's Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan with the First Alert forecast. Bob.
Alan back from the Crystal Classic on Siesta Key. Took the chopper. Made it back in time here. Van Wezel webcam showing generally fair skies today out over Sarasota Bay. Things are calm there. And it looks as though we'll see a front move in, which will cloud things up a little bit, but gorgeous sunset tonight out on the bay. And current conditions, we have fair skies. It's still nice out there, 79 degrees. And the winds, not too bad, west-northwest at 9, and the pressure continues to rise, 30.01 inches. Now, there is a frontal boundary to our north. You can see this one right here. This is the actual cold front back here. Little pre-frontal action bringing some heavier storms offshore of Apalachicola there, and you can see that activity continuing to drift to the south and east. The main energy with it will be passing well to the northeast of us, so we don't anticipate a lot of rainfall with this front. It will bring us a few showers possible on into late Saturday morning and early Saturday afternoon as the front works on through. Tonight, it's nice out there. 1 or 2 showers popping up here and there in Manatee County. That was about it. Nothing along the coastline. It's going to stay dry, too, through the overnight hours. There's a few showers well down to our south, east and southeast of Fort Myers. Current temperatures, as I mentioned, upper 70s here, upper 60s in the Panhandle now at 69 degrees there, 78 in Orlando. What this front is going to do, it's going to cool us down to back to seasonal averages as opposed to being well above average, and looks like no more near record-breaking highs, at least for a little while. 77 now in Bradenton, Mayaca City is 78, the Gulf water temperature at 80 degrees, 78 in Inglewood. Alan will be right back after this. Stick around.
Zupan, part of the U.S. Paralympic rugby team. In my game, movement is everything. I get frustrated when my move is blocked, especially when that guy has no right to be there, even just for a minute. I love a challenge, but I don't like to play this game every day.
A message from the United Spinal Association.
If you're looking for the perfect trip that allows you to spend quality time with a family, then discover the great outdoors on an Alabama Black Belt adventure. Create unforgettable memories while hunting, fishing, or biking and hiking. Or play the Robert Trent Jones Golf Trail, now celebrating 25 years. And while you're here, enjoy the flavors of the Black Belt. Book your adventure at our lodges or stay in the Renaissance Montgomery Hotel and Spa. Start planning an Alabama Black Belt adventure today.
For more than 100 years, American Humane Association has been teaching kids to be kind to animals. Those in our homes, on the farms, on the silver screen, and wildlife conservation, caring for the world's vanishing creatures. But we can't do it alone. Visit kindness100.org to find ways to teach kids how they can make a more caring, compassionate, and humane world for all of us.
The body, it is a work of art and a powerful ally in the fight against cancer. A new approach called immunotherapy works by helping our immune system correctly identify and eradicate many types of cancer cells. Speak with your doctor and visit su2c.org/immunotherapy to learn more. Your body might just be your greatest hope.
Check out My Suncoast Dining on mysuncoast.com, your guide to the foodie lifestyle. ABC7's own Chef Judy serves up her favorite recipes, cooking tips and trends, dining blogs, step-by-step videos, and Suncoast Restaurant Guide. You'll find it all at mysuncoast.com/dining. ABC7 News at 7, weeknights.
Welcome back. You know, there are still people out there who think politics is boring and people don't care, but overall, voter turnout skyrocketed this week. The problem for Democrats, it skyrocketed even more for Republicans. We love our midterms so much in Florida, we have decided to drag them out a couple more days or weeks. We just can't seem to decide who we want as U.S. Senator Rick Scott or Bill Nelson, or as Governor Ron DeSantis or Andrew Gillum. Say what you will about the impending recounts, but they wouldn't be necessary if those candidates earned decisive victories. And joining us for more are Congressman-elect Greg Steube, Rodney Jones, the president of the Manatee County NAACP, and Tampa Bay Times political correspondent William March. But first, with tonight's poll question, here is ABC7 digital producer Chloe Comboy.
Alan, today I posted your Facebook poll question asking viewers, do you think the issue of a recount is a Democratic plot to overturn the election? In just a few hours, we've had over 2,000 votes and over 300 comments on our Facebook page. Coming up, I'll share some of those comments with you and reveal what the final poll numbers say. Alan, back to you.
Chloe, thank you. As I mentioned, so many of these races were so incredibly close. One that was not, Greg, was yours, and let me be the first to congratulate you and actually say Congressman-elect. What was that experience like? I mean, I know what the district is, but it still must have been an incredibly exciting experience.
Yeah, I think it started to sink in this week when you start getting FedEx packages from Speaker Paul Ryan inviting you to dinners for all of the different newly elected congressmen. So it's very humbling to be a part of the 116th Congress. I look forward to serving my constituents there. And I actually fly up to D.C. on Monday, so the first week of new member orientations next week. You go through the process of them doing your orientation and picking an office. It's all by lottery system, so it's starting to sink in, and I'm looking forward to serving in Washington.
Wendy, on the other hand, these other races, the governor's race, the Senate race, are so close that those candidates can only start the process of what they need to do, but we still don't know in the end. You know, you mentioned to me before the show there was, in fact, a blue wave. It's just that the red wave was bigger, at least in Florida.
Well, there was a blue wave, and the results of that are very obvious. In Hillsborough County, we just had a huge turnout, and it was a blue turnout mostly. It was a bloodbath for Republicans in Hillsborough County. But if you take if you look at Andrew Gillum's votes, he got just a hair more than 4 million votes. That would have been a monumental landslide in any of the last 3 governor races. There's never been more than 3 million votes cast for a candidate for governor in Florida history. So yeah, there was a blue wave, but there was also a red wave.
Rodney, I was under a wrong assumption, which is not going to surprise a lot of my viewers, but I thought that the African-American community would be so energized during this election process. When you think about the last 2 governor's elections, Rick Scott won by, I think, 60,000 votes, less the second time around, and I thought that around the state, that the African-American vote, which was kind of plateaued in 2008, would just come back and carry him to victory. What happened?
I think we still had a very good turnout. I can only speak for Manatee County, not so much for around the state, but we've had record turnout, especially at our precincts at what I would consider the black community. They're very diverse communities, but they're some of the lower socioeconomic communities, and we've had pretty significant turnout. I know in the primary, one of our polling places, we were up over 20% over the 2014 primary. So we're doing our thing here. We just like a fair and equitable process to count those votes. That would be nice, because it seems like many of the anomalies that happen, they seem to happen in predominantly minority communities, and that is concerning and alarming.
Greg, we only have a few seconds left, but some of your new colleagues, like Matt Gaetz, you heard what the governor had to say. They're weighing in, and they're basically saying fraud. The Florida Department of Law Enforcement says it is not investigating it yet because the Secretary of State says there is no evidence of fraud.
Well, my interesting point here is we didn't see this in the primary, where it didn't matter Republican or Democrat who the outcome was, because it was Democrats had a primary and the Republicans had a primary, and now all of a sudden we're taking days to come up with, and then tens of thousands of ballots are showing up when the law requires that to be certified within 30 minutes of the polls closing. You have your your vote by mail ballots, you have your early voting ballots, you run them through a machine and it pops out a number. So how we're coming up with tens of thousands of new ballots is very suspect to me.
I was a Broward County voter in 2000, so I know all about it. We're going to take a quick pause. Our conversation on the week in politics continues right after we get a check on the First Alert forecast with Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan. Bob.
Thanks, Alan. We have some changes taking place over the weekend, and then next week, especially next week, we'll see a bigger change. But a weak cold front is coming down on Saturday. That weak cold front will bring us a little increase in clouds and a slight chance for a few passing showers anywhere from 10 a.m. up until around 2 p.m. But those showers will be not all that intense, and they'll be very few. More showers and an isolated thunderstorm possible come Tuesday late and into Wednesday morning as a stronger cold front works its way in. And then get ready for some cooler temperatures. That's right, they'll be here on Wednesday and stick around through Friday as that north wind starts to blow pretty strong. Now, as far as we're concerned, this front is still way back to the west of us, stretching all the way down to Louisiana near New Orleans, producing just a little bit of rainfall. The main low pressure is way up here, so it's a long way away from the tail end of that cold front. That's the reason why we don't expect to see a lot of rough weather. They are seeing some pretty big storms over North Florida right now and over into northeast Florida near Jacksonville, but we're not getting that, and I don't think we will. We'll see a few scattered showers. I mentioned the timing on Saturday. Right now, no rain to speak of. Good night for football and football Friday night. We are looking at some playoff games, and as far as temperatures go, well, it's cooler over the Panhandle near that cold front and where the clouds and showers are falling. 69 degrees in Tallahassee. It's 79, though, here in Sarasota, and temperatures did warm to near record-breaking highs today, into the mid-80s to upper 80s across the region. 79 now in Northport. The hourly planner tomorrow, notice the temperature does not go into the mid to upper 80s. For highs tomorrow, we'll see them right around 80, 82 degrees or so. Depending upon where you are on the beaches, it'll be right around 80 degrees. And there will be a bit of a breeze, especially in the afternoon once the front moves through. But generally light winds to start the day off. We'll see those winds fairly variable out of the north at 5 in the morning, and then you'll notice 5 to 10. Then we get to the 2-3 o'clock hour, they pick up from 10 to 15 miles an hour out of the north and northeast. That's good news for beachgoers, as that wind will be blowing offshore, and any harmful impacts of that red tide should be kept out into the Gulf of Mexico. And then again on Sunday, similar wind flow out of the east and northeast, anywhere from 5 to 10 miles an hour. Here's the forecast model, one of them, showing the front coming down and the line of showers thinning out as it approaches the sun coast. As I said, a few showers are possible, but it won't stick around all that long. It'll push to the south. It'll get hung up down in South Florida. That front will. We'll see a mixture of sun and clouds throughout the day on Saturday. Sunday looks good too. We'll see sunshine intermixed with some clouds in the afternoon, but should start off pretty nice. A little bit of moisture coming back into play with that east wind on Sunday. Monday we warm back up, by the way, into the mid-80s we go. 79 right now, winds out of the west-northwest at 9 miles an hour. The pressure fairly high, 30.01 inches. Our high today near record-breaking, just 2 degrees shy of the record. Got up to 86 degrees, the record high at 88. Beautiful sunset tonight. 80 degrees is our normal high. We'll be close to that number tomorrow and on Sunday. And then here's what we're going to do. This is Monday right here. This is looking in the long range. You can see that snow coming down into Arkansas, into Tennessee, and then in through Tennessee. Now this front is going to move through, looks like late Tuesday, but we'll get some showers out ahead of it on Tuesday afternoon. Then it comes through, north winds follow and cools us down. It's not going to be a big cold front, but it will be noticeable on Wednesday and Thursday when temperatures get up only into the low 70s for highs on both those days. North winds start off at 5 to 10, pick up to 15. Seas will be running 2 feet to 3 feet, and there'll be a moderate chop on the bays and inland waters. The extended forecast then calling for pretty decent weekend, really. Temperatures in the low 80s as opposed to mid to upper 80s. We get back to that, though, on Monday. And then a better chance for showers, mainly showers, on late Tuesday and into Wednesday morning. But notice the cooler readings both on Wednesday and Thursday, and even Friday. Not too bad, mid-70s on Friday. Alan will be back with his panel right after this. Stick around.
You like to pay less. That's why you made Honda Accord the best-selling mid-size car in America. Get the redesigned Accord, the North American Car of the Year, or Civic, a KBP.com Best Buy for less than the competition. Like SUVs and trucks? Get Motor Trend's SUV of the Year, CRV, the 8-passenger Pilot or Ridgeline truck for up to $4,240 less today at your local Honda dealer.
Christmas Traditions by Lux Art Silks, where more is merrier. Make your holidays sparkle with style. Browse our amazing showroom, cute collectible cottages, and beautiful Christmas displays. Find the inspiration, selection, and quality you need to deck the halls merry and bright. Christmas Traditions also features the area's largest selection of quality pre-lit Christmas trees, every size, shape, and color, and plenty of decorations to make your home shine for the holidays. Christmas Traditions by Lux Art Silks, where more is merrier. Visit us on New 301, just a quarter-mile north of University Parkway.
The following message is brought to you by Mesobook.com.
People who have been diagnosed with mesothelioma have many questions. How did I get this disease? What are my treatment options? How will this affect my loved ones? You need answers, which is why we offer a free book written by medical professionals who have treated mesothelioma.
Call toll-free at 1-800-777-1366 or go to mesobook.com.
There are lots of people who are confused about which Medicare plan is right for them.
Hey, that's me. I barely know where to start.
Well, start here with me, Karen. I'm a licensed Humana sales agent.
Well, it's nice to meet you, Karen. I'm John Smith.
Hi, John. At Humana, we know you're unique, so you have different needs from other John Smiths.
Yeah, I've always thought so.
And together, we can find a plan that's right for you.
Great. I go to the doctor a couple of times a year, and I have some prescriptions, but I'm never fully sure of what's covered and what's not.
With Humana's all-in-one Medicare Advantage plans, you get coverage for hospital stays, doctor visits, and Part D prescription drug benefits, all for an affordable and sometimes no monthly plan premium.
Do you have any more information?
Sure. I'll get a decision guide in the mail to you today. They're free.
Finally, someone who understands the real me.
Your health and happiness is important to us. Call or go online now to get your free decision guide. Call a licensed Humana sales agent today.
Growing up, my mom was afraid of the water, something she did not want me to feel.
So I enrolled Missy in swim lessons.
It changed my life.
Missy Franklin.
And now you can do the same for someone that you love.
There's nothing more precious than your child's well-being.
So act now, before it's too late.
Make us swim! I'm glad I did.
Thanks, Mom. Visit usaswimmingfoundation.org to find, get, or give a swim lesson.
Welcome back to the Week in Politics, the midterm edition. And joining us for more are Congressman-elect Greg Steube, the president of the NAACP Manatee Chapter Rodney Jones, and Tampa Bay Times political correspondent William March. I guess this should not be surprising in terms of the politics of the impending recounts in 3 different statewide races. And of course, as we saw and we'll see now, the president weighing in earlier today.
They're finding votes out of nowhere. And Rick Scott, who won by, it was close, but he won by a comfortable margin. Every couple of hours, it goes down a little bit. You look at the dishonesty. Look. There's bad things have gone on in Broward County, really bad things.
As I said earlier, I was a Broward County voter in 2000, so I know all about the problems, but both parties are now flooding the state with attorneys. Wendy, what are we about to see?
Well, both sides are trying to create an air of expectation for their candidate. Rick Scott wants to create a public view, a climate of public opinion that he is the legitimately elected senator whose election is being fraudulently challenged. Bill Nelson wants to create the climate of public opinion that there's an open question here and we need to carefully research and look at every vote. They're taking this lesson off the 2000 electoral crisis in Florida.
Debacle,
whatever you want to call it, that in which managing public expectations, public opinion was a big part of the fight, and you're going to see them doing the same thing here.
Greg, is the issue here that, these things happen in all elections in every state? There are sometimes delays in opening, mail-in ballots or overseas ballots, but it really only comes into play when elections are this close.
Yeah, but it's you look at the whole state and you have 67 counties, and there are 2 counties that can't get their act together and do what they're supposed to legally do by the law. You're supposed to have absentees, or what we call today vote by mail ballots and early voting ballots, and within 30 minutes of you pushing a button and running those through a machine, you get a number, and that's what the number is. And suddenly we're finding ballots, and where have these ballots been for the last 3 or 4 days, and suddenly the numbers are changing as to the number of people that have actually voted. So of course people are going to be like very suspect of where these ballots are coming from and who these votes are coming from, and people asking for investigations. I asked today for the Department of Justice to do an inquiry and an investigation to make sure that, look, we all want to know that our votes are being counted, and we fully support that, but let's make sure that it's being transparent and it's fair and the votes that are being counted are actually accurate. Because every of the 65 other counties, I mean, in Sarasota, we had our results by 7:30, absentees or vote by mail, early voting was done.
And it was the same thing in Manatee County. Rodney, what is your major concern right now?
All the stories that we're hearing, not only from all over the state, but the stories starting to surface in Manatee County. We've got complaints of people going to a poll to vote. That's not your precinct. You're supposed to go over here. They go over to the other polling place and they tell them to go back to where they came from. Down in South Florida, there's accounts of power failures at election places. You know, technical problems. People putting boxes of ballots into civilian cars and transporting ballots. We've heard everything in the world. And so this is not new to us. Maybe it's new to other populations, but we've had concerns about election process all along. Even the vote by mail process, man, that ballot has to touch too many hands for me to feel comfortable with it. You know, to get to your house, from your house back to the post office, back over to the supervisor of elections office. Too many hands on the ballots.
All right, we have to take a quick break. We are just getting warmed up on our conversation. The week in politics will continue right after this. Stay.
It's year-end clearance time at every Gettle location. Over 3,000 new vehicles, over 1,000 used vehicles on clearance right now at Gettle.com. And Gettle Pre-Owned Certified Plus means buying with peace of mind. Get credit help, fast cash for your car, and year-end clearance prices right now at a Gettle dealership near you. Gettle's got it. At Gettle.com.
If you're looking for the perfect trip that allows you to spend quality time with the family, then discover the great outdoors on an Alabama Black Belt adventure. Create unforgettable memories while hunting, canoeing, camping, and more. Or challenge yourself on Robert Trent Jones Golf Trail, now celebrating 25 years. And while you're here, enjoy a Deep South dining experience. Book your adventure in one of our members' lodges or stay at the Renaissance Montgomery Hotel and Spa. Start planning an Alabama Black Belt adventure today.
Imagine a world filled with pillow fights, playgrounds, and the search for the perfect climbing tree. Every kid deserves that world, but 1 in 5 kids in America struggle with hunger. At No Kid Hungry, we're committed to creating a world where every kid eats healthy food every day. We raise funds, we help families, and we lift up communities.
In life after the military, it's our duty as veterans to have each other's back. I'm retired Colonel Greg Gatson, and it's my mission to help you get the benefits and services you've earned. If you need to file a VA claim, remember these important steps. Submit an online claim through ebenefits.va.gov. Work with an accredited Veteran Service Organization, or VSO. And if you need to attend a VA claim exam, please go. Visit this website to learn what to expect.
Monday at 5 on ABC7's Good Morning Suncoast.
Hi, I'm Jess Dowdrick.
And I'm Ray Collins. Veterans Day is Sunday, but there are plenty of events still honoring heroes on Monday.
We'll tell you how you can help show your support for veterans today on Good Morning Suncoast. John?
A significant cold front will be approaching that promises us some cooler weather for midweek. We'll be talking about that bright and early.
Monday at 5 on ABC7's Good Morning Suncoast. We're here for you.
Dear parents, it's time for a pop quiz. What's the best kind of play for kids? Play that makes us think? Or helps us pretend? Or teaches us rules? Or to be creative? Actually, every kind of play is important because different kinds of play give us different kinds of skills. Help us mix up the ways we play. Okay, class dismissed. Now go play.
What to expect when you're expecting a teenager.
Today we're talking about how to wake up your teen, and this works literally every time.
Give kisses. Give kisses.
how loud
I
was.
heard. It wasn't you. It was the...
Is that bacon?
You don't have to know it all to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
Get breaking news alerts focused on the Suncoast. Download the ABC7 News app. You're watching ABC7 News at 7:30.
Welcome back to the Week in Washington, and joining us for more are Congressman-elect Greg Steube, Rodney Jones, the president of the Manatee County NAACP, and Tampa Bay Times political correspondent William March. We're going to have more on the election coming up, but first let's go to our ABC7 digital producer, Chloe Conboy, with tonight's poll question. Chloe.
Alan, we've had tons of comments on our Facebook poll. We asked our viewers, do you think the issue of a recount is a Democratic plot to overturn the election? Here's what some of you had to say. Edwin says, yes, the Democrats will do anything to win. On the other hand, Dan says, how about a poll asking if complaints about fraud are a GOP plot to stop the counting of Democratic votes? And Jim concludes by saying, this Facebook poll will also be a 50-50 and may need a recount. Jim, I don't think I'll be doing a recount on this Facebook poll, but I will reveal the final poll results coming up before Alan's final thoughts. Alan, back to you.
Thanks, Chloe. Who says our viewers don't have a sense of humor? Wendy, let me ask you this, because there was a lot of talk during this campaign that progressives had complained since 2016 that the Democrats kept on nominating middle-of-the-road, moderate Democrats along the I-4 corridor, and they kept losing. And what you needed was a progressive that energized the progressive debate. The Orlando Sentinel put it this way, if we could put it up on the screen. Progressives in Florida have long said if there were a real progressive candidate in the race, he or she would energize young and new voters in the way the usual centrists wouldn't, and yet record-breaking turnout numbers weren't enough to put Democrat Andrew Gillum over the top in the governor's race, thanks to, in part, to lower turnout in key South Florida counties and huge gains in smaller yet reliably Republican rural and suburban counties. Now, even as they celebrate gains in the legislature and other local races, Democrats and progressive groups are wondering what they need to do to turn out enough voters to win the statewide again.
Well, it's like you said, Alan. I've been hearing this complaint since I've covered politics for more than 20 years in Florida. And it comes from the liberals, the comparative liberal progressive element of the party in Southeast Florida. And for the last 5 elections before this one, Democrats nominated moderates from Central Florida, lost. And then the Southeast Florida liberal folks said, why won't you nominate one of us? We're the ones who get you elected anyway. Who knows whether they're right? In order to answer that question, you would have to engage in hypothetical things like, could Gwen Graham have won against Ron DeSantis? Both sides in this race were excited. What excited them? Partly it was Andrew Gillum, first black major party nominee for governor in history. That's no question that super excited black voters. Partly it was Trump. So to me, it's a hypothetical that you can't answer.
Rodney, what do Democrats have to do that they did not do this time?
I don't know what Democrats need to do. I know what American citizens need to do. We need to get out and vote, and I think this is going to be a moot point in a minute anyway, because I don't know why it didn't come up, but we just took the shackles off 1.6 million voters, 1.4 million voters, and it's going to be a moot point. If I'm a registered Democrat, but I consider myself an independent. I'm a Democrat, always have been, but I use it now to vote in the primaries, and it's going to be a moot point. We're organizing at unparalleled levels, and I think it's going to be. I don't think it'll be a sneak attack. We're coming right up the middle of the road, and we're educating those future voters. And I think this will be a moot point in the future.
That is an interesting point, Rodney, because Greg, as we know, voters decided to give back the voting rights of felons. It is an assumption that if these new voters will vote, that they will break Democratic. But does it, in your opinion, have a chance to really kind of change the equation statewide?
I don't think so. I mean, the Florida Senate, and we tried to do a ton of criminal justice reform. The House wouldn't go along with it. Very similar type things. And if the voters vote for that, it doesn't necessarily mean that those voters are Democratic or Republican. You don't know who those people are necessarily going to vote for. I think the candidates that Rick Scott and DeSantis won because their messages won out over their opponents. I've always said that races are about the candidates that are in those races. It's really not I mean, look at the Margaret Good, Ray Pilon race. You have more registered Republicans in that district than Democrats, and Margaret Good won. So obviously the constituents in that district voted for a message that they believed in. So I think people believed in what Rick Scott was doing. Bill Nelson has been there. Bill Nelson was elected to the U.S. Senate the year I was born. And many people couldn't even articulate things that he had done in the 40 years that he's been there.
So let's ask this question. How were the polls so wrong? I mean, there were 2 public polls that came out the week before the election that showed that Gillum was up by 5, almost a mirror in the U.S. Senate race. We've seen this time after time. We saw this in the primary. Senator, what do you think is going on here?
Well, several things. So we did a very, very good legitimate poll, live voter poll. You had to go all the way through the questions in my primary, and we were at plus 20 points. I won by 44 points. So that poll was 20 points off. Now things change between the time that the poll is done and the election day, but not much. Polling is just polling. It's not a fact of what the voters actually are. And with the Trump voters and people that may be registered to vote for Andrew Gillum, they're not being polled because they're not likely voters. Typically polls are going to poll people who are 304 and 404. Is the poll being done by robocall? Is it a live voter poll? There's so many things that comes with polling that you have to analyze to determine if you're getting accurate data.
Yeah, Rodney, there's been so much discussion about that. There's been a trend that, voters are going down their own party ticket right now, and that the real emphasis should be on those non-affiliated voters. Early indications are that the MPAs did not come out as strongly as expected. So what do Democratic candidates, you're a registered Democrat, have to do to win back those unaffiliated voters?
I think the Scott race and the Nelson race was a lackluster candidate in Nelson. He's been there half a century, and if it wasn't for Governor Scott, I supported Nelson because I can't support Scott. I don't agree with his behavior.
Neither one of them lit you on fire.
Yeah, neither one, and I blame the Democrats for allowing him to sit in that seat for so long and not be forward thinking and know that was going to be a problem. And we just have to continue to. I'm a big person that I vote for neighborhood. I could care less about party affiliation. I vote for what's best for my family and what's best for my neighbors. And I think if we get that mindset more and don't get caught up in this broken system of a government that we have when we vote on our homes and our family and our communities, I think we'll be in much better shape.
Wendy, look, theoretically, Bill Nelson could still pull this out. There are stories about how he still might do this, but there was a lot of discussion in Democratic circles before this race in earnest that why is he running for another term? Where is the Democratic bench?
Well, it's a little tough to convince anybody that their time has come. There was a bench out there. If he had decided not to run, there were 4 candidates in the primary for governor. There were people out there who could have run. But Nelson is a member of a dying breed, and that is the moderate white Southern Democrat. They just about no longer exist. They've been replaced either by people on the progressive side of the party, minorities, or Republicans.
All right. Greg, I want to ask you one more question before we go to the break, because you're now joining a Congress where Republicans are going to be in the minority. What do you do?
Yeah, I think I'm going to try to find things that hopefully bipartisan folks can agree upon. Reforms to veterans administration. I would think Republicans and Democrats could sit in the same room and say the VA system is broken, and I can give you example after example of how it is. How do we fix it? Let's reform the system. I think there's a lot of things that we can do as bipartisan. I will never quit fighting for my conservative ideals that I believe very strongly in. I've been in the political process for almost 10 years now. I know that going into a Democratic majority that chairmen aren't going to hear those bills.
I think this is the first time you'll ever be in the minority in the legislative body.
So far, yeah.
Okay, we have to take a quick break. We'll be back for final thoughts in a moment.
says Art, Sarasota's only area rug superstore.
This is an important message for anyone with Medicare. You may be eligible for an all-in-one Medicare plan that combines hospital, medical, and prescription drug coverage together with extra benefits that may include dental, vision, hearing aids, and much more. Some of these plans have a $0 monthly premium regardless of your income. That's right. For one low plan premium, or in some cases a $0 premium, you may be able to get coverage for your hospital visits, doctor appointments, prescription drugs, routine dental care, eyeglasses and contact lenses, hearing aids, and possibly more. Today may be the first time you've heard about this type of Medicare plan. The advisors at the Medicare.com helpline are licensed insurance agents who will explain more when you call. Call now to see if you qualify. Call the number on your screen now. Call now to see if you qualify for these benefits. You worked hard for your Medicare. Now is the time for your Medicare to work hard for you. Not affiliated with or acting on behalf of any government agency or program.
All right, crew, let's get started. All right.
Don't ignore the law. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 days before any digging project so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811.
Welcome back. Our guests join us right now for final thoughts. And there's one other thing I wanted to bring up, and that was the repercussions from that press conference by the president yesterday, the White House stripping CNN's chief White House correspondent, Jim Acosta, with his White House credentials. After this happened in the East Room of the White House, let's take a look.
When you're in the White House, this is a very sacred place to me. This is a very special place. You have to treat the White House with respect. You have to treat the presidency with respect. If you've ever seen him dealing with Sarah Huckabee Sanders, it's a disgrace. And he does it for, you know, the reason. The same thing with April Ryan. I watch her get up. I mean, you talk about somebody that's a loser. She doesn't know what the hell she's doing.
All right. Now, most people, I think, probably saw the video, if we have it, of what happened with Jim Acosta trying to ask the president a question about immigration. It went on a long time, and Wendy, you do have some strong feelings about that. You saw what happened with the White House intern trying to get the microphone back, and then reportedly the White House itself doctored the video.
Well, that may not be true. Simply changing the video into a GIF could have had something of a similar effect. But the overall point is this. Much as I would like to side with a fellow journalist, particularly given the White House's attempt to foment hatred of journalists for political reasons, in this situation, both sides were wrong. I feel like Acosta's questioning was not professional. It was making him part of the story, which is what a journalist should never do. Then the White House took the bait, went out the window with it, unprecedentedly revoking his credentials, again in a further attempt, I think, to stoke their base.
And Ronnie, calling April Ryan, who is a correspondent for American Urban Radio, a loser.
Yeah, I mean, it's par for the course for our president. I mean, we've seen outlandish behavior since he came into office, unpresidential behavior, I believe un-American behavior at times. I know he's a different type of politician, but we've seen that type of behavior, inappropriate behavior out of him since he got there. And now he's elated his base to do the same thing. I mean, the amount of racial slurs that flew around at the polling places against blacks who were there working the polls was just unprecedented.
Greg, you have to ask, isn't respect a two-way street here? I mean, you could take issue with what Jim Acosta did and issue with maybe what some other reporters ask, but the president making up names for them, calling them stupid, calling them, told another reporter today they asked stupid questions. I mean, shouldn't there be respect on both sides?
I mean, I don't use terminology and characterization like that, but from the video that we just watched, clearly he's the president of the United States, and he's telling whoever was asking him the question that he's not going to answer that question. And you have a staffer for the White House trying to take the mic from him, and he's deflecting her. And I just don't think that was, like you said, professional. And he's the president of the United States. If he doesn't want to answer your question, he doesn't have to answer your question. And if there's a White House staffer trying to take the microphone from you, you need to be respectful of that. And he was clearly trying to deflect this female White House staffer from taking the microphone. I just don't think that's appropriate.
All right, we have to leave it there.
Have to agree with that.
Okay. Thank you, Congressman-elect Greg Steube, Rodney Jones of the NAACP in Manatee County, and William March of the Tampa Bay Times. Now let's go to ABC7 digital producer Chloe Conboy with tonight's poll question. Chloe.
Alan, this is the most votes we've had on our Week in Washington Facebook poll. We had a total of 2,000 votes, and the final results show 53% of viewers say yes, the issue of a recount is a Democratic plot to overturn the election, and 47% of you said no. Make sure to go to our Facebook page next Friday so you can participate in the Facebook poll, and maybe we will show your comments on air. Alan, back to you.
Chloe, thank you. When we return, Sessions is out, and President Trump is changing his tune about his new Attorney General, the ongoing fallout coming up in primetime headlines. But first, let's get a final check on our first alert forecast with Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan. Bob.
Let's wrap the weather up right now. We're looking at a beautiful day today. Lots of sunshine. Temperatures did warm into the mid-80s, even some upper 80s at times. And the dew point, or the humidity, if you will, was a little high too, making it feel like 90 degrees. So summer-like weather conditions are going to go away, though, as a cold front starts to move on through the front. There's not a lot to it as far as rainfall goes. You can see it stretching all the way down into Texas now. It continues to push to the southeast. Out ahead of it, there's a little prefrontal trough bringing some heavier storms, but they're starting to wind down over the northern Gulf of Mexico. Some showers just off the coast of Jacksonville as well. Pretty heavy rain there, but for us, we're high and dry. A little activity near Lake Okeechobee. Nothing going on right now along the west coast of Florida. Things are quiet and will stay that way overnight. And to start the day off on Saturday, looks good. Low temperatures in the low 70s. We'll have just a few clouds around in the morning. 69 at Lakewood Ranch. Those clouds will start to increase, though, in the latter half of the morning and early afternoon as the front approaches. Low right around 70 in Wauchula, 67 in Arcadia, and 67 in Sebring. Your evening planner looks good and looks great for football out there. A lot of football teams in the playoffs. 74 degrees by 11 o'clock tonight. And as far as the forecast goes tomorrow, notice no mid to upper 80s. We're talking right around 80 degrees, maybe a couple degrees warmer than that, but just around 80, a partly cloudy day, and the rain chance at 20% for a passing shower by midday. Well, here it comes, the front, and slightly cooler temperatures moving on in, some drier air too, settling in throughout the day on Saturday and Sunday. And that will make for more comfortable air around, even though temperatures will still warm into the low 80s. And then by Sunday, you'll notice those winds switch around more to an easterly direction. That brings some moisture into the east coast and central Florida. Not much of a chance of getting it all the way over to the west coast, but we will see some decent weather conditions. 79 right now, and the humidity at 82%. The high today warmed 86 degrees. That's 2 degrees shy of the record high set back in 1942. 35 was the record low. Well, here again is the long-range model showing snow Tuesday of next week all the way down into Tennessee, near Georgia. And then for us, we'll see highs in the low 70s. There'll be a slight chance for showers come Wednesday and Thursday as a result of the front kind of hanging around. But once it moves on, it should be pretty nice for the rest of the work week in the latter half of it anyway. Nationally, you can see quiet weather in the central U.S. as high pressure is building in behind that front. Nasty days, snow falling in upstate New York earlier. You can see that into parts of West Virginia and now spreading off to Vermont and New Hampshire. Well, here's that Arctic air coming down now. 20 in Minneapolis, 20 in Kansas City. That's the current temp. Tomorrow in the mid-20s, below freezing there in Minneapolis, and 32 degrees in Chicago for a high temperature. Boating, winds will be out of the North at 5 to 10 knots. Seas will be 2 to 3 feet. There'll be a moderate chop on the bays and inland waters, and the UV index will be an 8 tomorrow. The water temperature is still pretty warm, 80, but with these fronts coming down, that's expected to cool down pretty quickly next week. So let's go to the 7-day forecast and show you what's happening. Nice weekend. Temperatures low 80s, lows into the mid 60s on Sunday morning. We warm up again on Monday into the mid 80s. And then the front, the stronger one of the two, moves in late Tuesday, bringing with it a good chance for showers, and even into the Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, a chance for rainfall. Notice the clouds kind of hang around. High temperatures will be in the low 70s on both Wednesday and Thursday. Look at that nice low on Thursday morning, 55 degrees there. Friday, partly cloudy and a slight chance for showers, high around 75. Make it a good weekend. Alan will be right back after this. Stick around.
It's year-end clearance time at every Gettle location. Over 3,000 new vehicles, over 1,000 used vehicles on clearance right now at Gettle.com. And Gettle Pre-Owned Certified Plus means buying with peace of mind. Get credit help, fast cash for your car, and year-end clearance prices right now at a Gettle dealership near you. Gettle's got it. At Gettle.com.
Hi, I'm Chef Bob. Watch Aprons in the Kitchen every Wednesday morning on ABC7, where we'll be serving up the most awesome dishes. Then stop by your neighborhood Publix, pick up the recipe card and all the ingredients.
I heard about the Totally Cancer Center through friends of mine who had been treated here and were very pleased with the treatment.
If there is prostate cancer, we at the Totally Cancer Center will find it using 3D color flow Doppler ultrasound.
And that helped precisely identify where my cancer was. I can tell you that you will not find a finer, more professional team of clinicians anywhere in the world.
There are lots of people who are confused about which Medicare plan is right for them.
Hey, that's me. I barely know where to start.
Well, start here with me, Karen. I'm a licensed Humana sales agent.
Well, it's nice to meet you, Karen. I'm John Smith.
Hi, John. At Humana, we know you're unique, so you have different needs from other John Smiths.
Yeah, I've always thought so.
And together, we can find a plan that's right for you.
Great. I go to the doctor a couple of times a year, and I have some prescriptions, but I'm never fully sure of what's covered and what's not.
With Humana's all-in-one Medicare Advantage plans, you get coverage for hospital stays, doctor visits, and Part D prescription drug benefits, all for an affordable and sometimes no monthly plan premium.
Do you have any more information?
Sure. I'll get a decision guide in the mail to you today. They're free.
Finally, someone who understands the real me.
Your health and happiness is important to us. Call or go online now to get your free decision guide. Call a licensed Humana sales agent today.
There's nothing like this trail in Alabama. It just goes from the northern part of the state to the southern part of the state. We see all kind of different terrains, great value, great fun. We've been coming for 18 years. We started off with a group of 8, grew to 12, and grew to 16. And we love it because where else can you get world-class golf courses with world-class accommodations? To be able to play these type of courses in this environment, and the difficulty keeps us coming back over and over and over again.
Check out My Suncoast Dining on mysuncoast.com for Chef Judy's favorite recipes, restaurant guide, and more. Go to mysuncoast.com/dining.
Checking primetime headlines, President Trump trying to distance himself from his now acting Attorney General, repeatedly telling reporters today he doesn't know the man now in charge of the Justice Department, despite saying exactly the opposite last month. ABC's Janae Norman is in Washington with the ongoing fallout since the president fired Jeff Sessions.
Acting Attorney General Matt Whitaker is at the center of controversy, and President Trump is trying to distance himself.
I don't know Matt Whitaker.
Telling reporters multiple times on the South Lawn that he doesn't know the man he handpicked to temporarily run the Justice Department, less than a month after saying the exact opposite on Fox News.
But I can tell you, Matt Whitaker is a great guy. I mean, I know Matt Whitaker.
Whitaker is a former U.S. attorney and conservative commentator who openly criticized the Russia investigation he's now in charge of.
There is not a single piece of evidence that demonstrates that the Trump campaign had any illegal or even improper relationships with Russians. I mean, it's that simple.
Democrats say there's a clear conflict of interest, but sources tell ABC News Whitaker has no plans to recuse himself.
I'm watching many different people go on many different shows, saying many different things. That doesn't mean they're unqualified.
On Twitter, President Trump took aim at Republican Senator Jeff Flake, who announced bipartisan plans to protect the special counsel and his investigation. The president tweeting, "Jeff Flakey doesn't want to protect the non-Senate confirmed special counsel. He wants to protect his future, a weak and ineffective guy." Majority Leader Mitch McConnell says he's confident the president won't interfere in the investigation.
There's never been any indication that he wants to dismiss Mueller or the investigation.
And the man formerly in charge of the investigation publicly supporting Whitaker, but not saying whether he's concerned about the probe.
I think he's a superb choice for Attorney General. He certainly understands the work.
Some are questioning whether the president appointing Whitaker is legal or even constitutional because Whitaker hasn't been confirmed by the Senate. Janae Norman, ABC News, Washington.
Turning now to Thousand Oaks, California, where a community is still reeling after a gunman killed 12 people in a dance club filled with young people. Authorities say the man then turned the gun on himself. They still have no motive. The shooter was a former Marine. One of the victims, a Navy veteran, survived the Las Vegas massacre, only to be killed in this mass shooting. His mother now demanding change.
And I don't want prayers. I don't want thoughts. I want gun control, and I hope to God nobody else sends me any more prayers. I want gun control. No more guns.
According to data compiled by the Gun Violence Archive, the shooting in Thousand Oaks was at least the 11th mass shooting in the U.S. since the Pittsburgh synagogue shooting just 2 weeks ago. Now to some good news. Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg is on the mend. She has been discharged from the hospital. She was admitted after fracturing 3 ribs. She fell in her office on Wednesday night. The 85-year-old is the second woman to serve on the U.S. Supreme Court. She has been a justice since 1993. And that's all the time we have for this evening. I'm Alan Cohn. Thanks for joining us. Have a great weekend.